Hello, and welcome to the Expatty Podcast, where I talk all things abroad, from expatriates living all around the world, how they live, why they live abroad, and how you too can experience a piece of life outside the States. I am Patty, and this is the Expatty Podcast. And here she is, Miss Juandalynn Abernathy. I wanted to thank you so much for speaking with me today on Expatty. How are you doing?
Thank you for having me. That's very important to me.
Yes, when I started doing this podcast, you were one of the first people that I had in mind that I eventually wanted to speak with because, I met you while living in Germany, and you are having experiences that I have had, but you have been in Germany a lot longer than I was in Germany. I was there for 4 years, and you've been in Germany how long now?
40 years. 40 years.
Great. Good. Wow. So let's go back to the very beginning when you were living in the States. So where were you living before you even came to Germany? And tell me how your transition from living in the States happened to living now in Germany.
Well, first of all, I was living in New York City. We lived right across from Fashion Institute in Manhattan, yeah. Mm-hmm. And I liked living in New York. It was quite exciting, but very expensive. And I worked for a non-profit organization after I left graduate school. That was Boston Conservative Music. And then my sister and I, she commuted to Boston because she was still in Emerson, and I had a roommate, a friend of mine, Jeffrey Kirchner, a Jewish young man that my sister had gone to school with, and Jeffrey wanted to move to New York too. He was an actor, so we roomed together in we had a beautiful apartment, but it had one negative aspect, and that was we didn't have windows. We couldn't see the weather during the day. It was beautiful inside. The windows were to an alley. So we used to get up every morning and have to ask the neighbors across the way that were living on the front part, what's the weather like today before we left house.
Oh, wow.
Well, anyway, then living in New York, in Manhattan, I just, it was, really doggy dog. And auditioning here and auditioning there, and I just thought, oh my God, what's going to happen? I was quite devastated after I became a finalist for the Metropolitan Opera auditions in New England, and the one of the board members, if she was not head of the board, came to me and told me that that it was a political decision as to why I didn't win. And that I would never win, and that I sang beautifully, and that I should consider moving to Europe if I wanted to continue with my career.
Now, I'm sorry, can I ask you a question though, but why was it a political decision? Because most people don't know, and I mean, I'm sure.
Because I was the daughter of Dr. Ralph David Abernathy, and that represented, problems, because of Martin Luther King, Ralph David Abernathy, and a lot of people think, well, we're privileged. We were privileged, and we are privileged, but at the same time, people tend not to give you just on general principles, and so I was quite devastated. Because I thought I should have won, and others thought I should have won, and I didn't know the reason as to why they gave the award to Russian soprano. And I remember I was just like, oh my God, she didn't sing as well. And everybody was like, and that's why she then came to me and told me that. So then I thought about my old voice teacher, Joan Kaplan from New York. I had her in Oberlin College, Conservative Music, and she had stated years before, I just think that Germany would be very good for you. That's what she said back then. And then I thought, oh, and this lady is saying I should go to Europe too. And I was just thinking, how do I get to Europe? And I guess I must have expressed that to my father, and just living in New York, and it just that year and a half that I lived there, it just seemed like I was at a standstill,
Mm-hmm.
and I was frustrated. And I guess my father said that he later told me he was on the plane, and he was sitting, of course, in first class, and he met this German man from Goethe Institute, Dr. Schneider, and he was. My father always talked about his talented daughter Juandalynn and his talented daughter Danzele, and always talking about his children. But then I guess he must have explained, told him about me, and he says, I can give her a scholarship to Germany. And my father said, what? He says, yes, I would be more than delighted. This would be a great privilege and a great honor for me. So my father said, oh, okay. So he put, he got in, I guess the communication was there, and Dr. Schneider called me and wrote me letters. And the next thing I knew, I flew to Atlanta because it was from Goethe. There's a Goethe Institute in Atlanta. Mm-hmm. And Dr. Schneider was in charge of the Goethe Institute in Atlanta. And because I come from Atlanta, and then, just living in New York, but just coming from Atlanta was a great opportunity for him. And we ate. He invited us to dinner. We got a chance to meet his wife, his family, and he got a chance to meet our entire family. And he was so impressed, and he gave me the scholarship. Wow. And I got on the plane. I never thought that at that time I thought, oh, it's only for 6 months. I'll be back in 6 months. And of course, these heavy suitcases and whatnot. And then I landed in Munich, and everything was so different. Of course, I had already been to Europe on several occasions. I had when I was 13, I went to study at the University of Reims in France, and Reims is where champagne comes from. So so I was Europe was I was accustomed to Europe, and then my father had taken us as an entire family to Vienna, to East Germany, to Prague. I had already traveled into Germany, Western Germany. So I was accustomed to, going overseas, but, it was like I was there without any family, and I only had 1 semester German in conservatory. So I thought, oh my God, it's so different. And it was so difficult for me. But I managed to get to the Goethe Institute, and then I stayed there 6 months. And then I decided that I wanted to stay longer. So then friends, the teachers there, professors there in Goethe Institute says, well, my old voice teacher, John Kaplan, said, well, you should go to Constance, because Constance is on the border to Zurich, and you can continue your voice lessons in Zurich. And Constance is a beautiful, quaint little town, and it's on the water. And I had never heard of Constance. And I was thinking about going to Augsburg. And more importantly, I developed so many friends there in Goethe Institute, and I thought, oh, it'll be a great opportunity to stay longer. And then a friend of mine who was from Sweden, who was there, she was actually German, but she was from Sweden. And she said, well, you should be an au pair. And I said, an au pair? And I said, what is an au pair?
I was going to say, what is that? I'm sure at the time you didn't know, right?
Yeah, I didn't know. And so she said, you take care of children. And I thought, children? Oh, I love children. And then she said, well, you could do that for like a couple of months because the Aufenthaltserlaubnis, was long enough. It was actually, I think, for 1 year. And she said, well, if you do that for a couple of months, then, through children, you can learn to speak the language much faster.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, okay, good, children, good, okay. And she took me to some homes there in Munich, and she walked out and she says, "You don't go there. They're racist." And it was really interesting.
Oh.
Yes, it was. I had some horrible encounters where they. I can't. That's another topic. But anyway, and my voice teacher in New York, I just decided, okay, I'll go to Constance. But then I said, I have to go to Italy. I had purchased tickets when I was in Italy with friends from Goethe Institute for the opera house, the largest opera house in the world, and that is Arena di Verona. Yeah, and
okay.
And I thought, well, I have to go there. I said, if I come to you for this short period of time, I must go to the opera. I've already purchased my tickets. And so she said, she laughed. And I said, why are you laughing? She said, because your ticket's nice, but I always get the best tickets. I do for a living. We own a travel agency, and we own it. And we spend our summers entirely in Italy. You will see the entire summer anyway in Italy, not just for the opera. And you can go to the opera every day. And I thought, wow, oh my God. So she took that ticket, she turned it in, and we went to Verona, and we stayed the entire summer. I was not in Constance that summer. I stayed the entire summer in Italy.
Wow, how old were you at this time?
I was 24, and I turned 25 that November. I stayed till shortly before Christmas, and then I flew back. And then I decided, no, I'm going to go back to Germany. And my father said, why not? You're young, you don't have a boyfriend, you're not married, you're not obligated. And I said, okay. And they packed up my apartment in New York, and I left and went back to Germany, came back to Germany. And
so you never really had the thing to want to go to Germany. It just kind of fell into your lap, so to speak. It just was an opportunity to just go there and to do your career and your interest in Germany.
Yes. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It fell into my lap. The opportunity fell into my lap, and I must thank my father and Dr. Schneider for that. And then things were working so well, and then I decided, well, I have to apply for jobs in singing in the opera house, and I made one mistake that I regret today. Extremely regret. And that is that I applied, and I went for a singing voice. I sang, and there was this one house. There was only one house that offered me what we call Festa Vertrag. They said, we want you to come. We want you to come to sing. And I was taunting whether I should go, whether I should not, or should I wait for something better. And it was in Trier. And I listened because I was so young. I was 25, but this was something new for me, So I listened to my friend Carla and her husband, Edwin Sigurd-Schlepper. I listened to them. And they said, no, don't take that. Something else will come up that will be even better. And I remember the intendant spoke with me on the phone. He said, you think about it. There's not going to be another one. This is a great opportunity for you. I don't think that another offer will come like this. And then I thought about it, and I let myself become influenced by them. And then I rejected it. And he said to me, I'll never forget, he said, you're making a mistake. And really, nothing ever came after that.
Wow.
And I was so devastated. Improved my Italianisch. So I went to the University of Perugia and stayed there in Italy by myself for an entire summer. And then I was being tutored while I was in Verona. My Italianisch was so good. It was so good. And being, over the years, it was always because Carla always had these tickets, so it was always, I saw all the operas, I don't know how many years, 17, 16, it's so long. Every summer I spent in Italy, so I wasn't married. So I was, I was watching the operas, studying and mastering the Italianish language, and of course the German language, and because I was always speaking with my friends and acquaintances were very intelligent and people of high positions, and so when you get a chance to speak always with them, then your vocabulary and grows, and more important, your language knowledge grows. So you're always there's always communication. You're always discussing, and it was a wonderful time. It was really, really a wonderful time.
So like in your late 20s, as all this is happening,
and early 30s later on.
And that's how you learned the language, was really with the Goethe Institute, as well as speaking with your friends a lot.
That's right.
Now, what would you say about living in Germany? What is the one thing that you've learned the most by being outside of what you knew from being an American, and now you're living in Germany in a whole nother culture? Like, what are some of the things that you learned about yourself while living in a foreign country?
Well, Patricia, I thought I was always a patient kind of a person, but you must learn to be patient and more tolerant. Germans are not Heiter, are not people that, I don't know how to explain it. Their emotions are always under control, basically. So I learned from them, this impulsiveness to kind of bring that down just a little bit. How calculating? I'm not calculating, but it's a different mentality. Americans, oh, how beautiful, and Germans are very reserved. And in the beginning, I guess that's new and different for them, and it's also exciting. I had to learn to bring that down in order to get along, to go along and to get along. German people are very nice people, but also very reserved.
They're very controlled, and I know friendships there are much more valued. They're very reserved in who they allow into their life and friendships they cultivate.
That's right.
So I'm sure you've made a lot of friends. Did you have any issues with race living in Germany?
Yes, in the beginning, and racism is still part, still exists today. I've been spat on.
Really?
Yes, spat on in Seerheim Center or my housemaster, the janitor, tried to choke me and carried me into the bushes because he said my dog had tried to bite him or had bitten him, which was not true. And
oh my goodness!
But all of these negative things, I kept smiling and kept on. I thought about leaving, but then I thought, no, you don't give up and you don't run away. You don't allow white people to determine what you do. So I never told my family about it until 1990. And my mother just cried. because I knew that if they had known about it, they would have insisted that I come back to the United States.
Yeah.
You don't have to deal with racism like this in the United States, and you put up with this here in Germany. Oh no. And she was so hurt, yeah. Or I've been called an azulant, and that I'm taking their Germans' tax money, and I'm living off of, yeah, I've had all that. I've been there too.
Well, how did things change when you met your husband? Tell me how you met your husband.
Well, I met my husband on a vacation. This friend of mine, my best friend that's passed now, I met him. She came to visit me, as she always did. And she said, "Oh, you're tired, exhausted. Come, let's go on vacation together." I said, "Okay." And then I said, "But we haven't booked anything." She said, "Yeah, we'll go to last minute." And okay, good. What's last minute? And then she said, "Yeah." Her husband said, just go to the travel agency and let's book." So we went to the travel agency, and Cyprus was on. We were wanting to go to Cyprus, yeah, so I could relax. She could relax. I could read a lot and do a lot of, just relaxing. And we had pressed Cyprus and the lady was booking it, and all of a sudden it bounced out. "No, it's not possible." What? And she was shocked herself. So she said, then she went back and she said, "No, we can't do it. It's all booked up. It's gone. We were so astonished. So she said, "I only have one other option, and that is Ibiza." Ibiza? Where is Ibiza? She said, "In Spain." But it's actually where, a lot of young people go and they party and whatnot. And we said, "Oh my God, that's not what we want." And the quality hotel wasn't that of which we wanted. And we said, "We have to think about it." And she says, "If you think about it too long, I won't be able to present you anything with last minute in this time frame." So we said, "Okay, we'll take it." And then we went back to my apartment and we called him, and he said, "Yeah, Ibiza is where the young people go and they party and drink and blah, 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 blah." So he said, "Just get prepared. It's going to be a party thing." So we said, "Okay then." And I met him in that hotel where we were staying, and I was reading, and she was lying by the pool, and I was lying by the pool, but I was reading, and he was so interested in me. He asked for my number, and I gave it to him. And I thought, "Oh, I'll never see him again. I'll never hear from him again." And by the time I got back to Constance in my apartment, he was calling. Yeah.
So how would you compare the quality of life that you have now in Germany as compared to here in the States? As you know, we have the epidemic, the pandemic going on here. And I know for me, living in the States, it's a big problem still. We still have a lot of people who are, getting infected and passing away. It's not really under control as well as it should be. How would you compare life living in Germany with this epidemic as compared to what you hear about in the States?
Well, what I hear about in the States is just shocking. Even today, in going to the butcher, we were talking about it. He has a daughter and a future daughter-in-law that's from the States too, and problems that America has. And I just, I'm grateful that I'm here instead of there. Because I think the way the German government essentially handled it and how Europeans are handling it is far better and much better than you have in the United States. It's not even an issue about wearing a mask. It is
just you do it. You just do it.
It is a requirement, and you do it. And you have to follow suit.
You do. You have your choirs. The Volkshochschule, you still teaching that choir?
No, I can't do any courses there right now. That money is missing too. I can't do any concerts.
Because of COVID. All because of COVID. Okay, but is the government giving subsidies or anything, or any money for lost income?
They gave in the beginning, to some people in the beginning, but they haven't given any more. It's over with.
It's over with.
It was only for like 3 months.
Okay. And so how are you supposed to fend, or are they slacking on paying your mortgages and everything?
No.
No?
No, not at all. Not at all.
Wow. Because the German government is very, I love saying serious, ernst, yeah? They're very serious, and the rules are the rules. They love following rules, right?
That's right.
So here things have been a little bit lax with people not having to pay their rent and their mortgages. I mean, do you have the good and the bad? What do you miss most about America, or if anything?
Well, I miss my family. I miss I guess it's that social. I don't know. I miss, the friends that I had, and how people would stop by and I would cook, or the house was always living, but it was always in motion. But now that my mother's passed, things are different. I think that if I lived in the same town as my sister, I think that activity would exist again. But I miss my family, and I like to have dinner parties, and
you like entertaining and having people over.
Having people around, and and the life is a little different.
It's slower, would you say? Slower.
Much slower.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
We live more hectic, I think, because people have to get up early in the morning. You have to do your job. It's I'm trying to pile so much into a day. It's I don't even know what it's like to go to sit, that yourself, to go and sit and have coffee at a coffee place, or to relax. It's I'm always having to move, and always having to have 1,000 things to do. And I guess in the United States I would still be that way too, I think. But I think that the living is a little bit different. Yeah.
Would you say it's better in Germany though, the living?
Yes.
Because Sundays are still relaxed, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Saturday, it used to be when I first came to Germany at 12 o'clock. 12 o'clock, the store is closed.
On Saturday. And they weren't open on Sunday. Nothing was open.
No, and they still aren't open on Sunday. Yeah.
Oh.
Open on Sunday. Yeah.
Yeah.
And now, some stores in the town, they will close. They will basically all close at 4 o'clock. And you can go to the grocery. It used to be that grocery stores would close at what was it back then? Grocery stores would close at 2 o'clock. When I first came to Germany, at 2 o'clock.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Markets and everything, 12 o'clock, grocery store closed at 2. And then they changed it to 6 o'clock. And now they have it till 10 o'clock.
Oh, wow.
So every grocery store basically is open until 10 o'clock now.
Okay.
And they close at 10. But your stores in the town, they close at 4 o'clock.
Okay.
And now, we have summer now, so the ice, you can get ice cream, the Italienische ice cream place, they close at 10 o'clock. But, and restaurants, now that's the really interesting thing. It's, to go to eat at night, late at night, you just can't do that. The kitchen closes.
Yeah.
And you can't get anything to eat after 9 o'clock. If you go to a restaurant at 9 o'clock, that's it. That's it. And even the Chinese place now, it used to be that you could get food there later on. No. The kitchen is closed. It is really closed at 9 o'clock. If you have not placed an order before 8:30, you don't get anything to eat. But
do you think that's good? I mean, I think it keeps things just a simple life, which you say. It's
a good thing and it's a bad thing. It's a good thing, it's a bad thing, because it allows and it forces people to relax.
Yes.
It
Yes.
forces people to have family time. And I think that's good. That's what we've lost in the United States. What I had, and you probably had, is that family, you know, eating at 6 o'clock in the evening and the family coming together, you know. But in America now, everybody's out shopping and everybody's eating fast food, and that causes cancer. People are not cooking and staying at home, you know, and having family time.
Right,
and
right.
Here in Germany, that still exists.
Now, what would you recommend for anyone who is in the States who may have never even thought about living in a foreign country? Is that possible? I mean, a lot of kids don't know that, especially underserved kids that come from communities where, you know, they're challenged economically. But I think having these possibilities shown to kids that come from such backgrounds is important, because there's a way out of their current situation. It's not forever. And I think having that opportunity is important. They don't know about it. So what advice, if anything, you would say to that child living in a neighborhood that they'll think this is my life forever? You know, what would you give them as an American?
Most important thing is to get education. That's important, to get education where they are. And education, reading, that broadens your horizon. Everything is not in the United States of America.
Right. Yes.
Everything is not there. People have to travel. I'm shocked and appalled. We were speaking, my brother and I, we speak all the time about there's so many people that have never even left their city.
That's right, Juandalynn.
They haven't left. They don't know anything else. That's for them to go to Chicago is like a world travel. What? Or to go to Florida. Oh my God. That's their world. And there's a whole nother world out there. But you can only learn that through, first of all, reading, education. That broadens your horizon. And then if you have an opportunity, go travel, go to other countries, even military people that I have met here through speaking, if I had to speak at a military base or whatever. I've heard from so many military people who are living in Germany. They don't take part in the activities like going to Italy.
Right. They want to be on the base and be an American in Germany.
That's right. And that's it. And one thing, you know, it's really, I mean, I make these programs and we're going to go to Italy here, and we're going to go to France here, and we're going to go to the Black Forest here. And nobody, I mean, you have to prod to get some people to even participate, which I don't understand.
I know.
For them, the whole world is living on the base because that's America. I mean, or they don't even venture out to try to learn another language.
Right.
So,
Juandalynn, yes.
I mean, you know, if you come from Georgia is just one state. There are so many other states. Then venture out, and if you do have the opportunity of going to being in the military, or you have an opportunity to even travel, take advantage of that, because through that you broaden your horizons.
Right.
You learned other cultures.
And how important is that?
It's for, oh God. And I know somebody said recently, Reverend asked them, you know, would you, if you have the opportunity, when would you come to Germany? Oh, I'm not interested in coming to Germany. I mean, why should I want to go to Germany? And so I said, oh my God, Mama, oh my God, you know, yeah.
I know.
But when you have education, you learn in school. I mean, I always wanted to travel. I mean, my parents have always traveled. I'm so frustrated that I haven't traveled in a while. And I'm just thinking, I mean, travel to another country. And I was just saying this morning to Zoran, I was saying, yeah, Zoran, you know what? If you and your girlfriend don't go to Paris this summer, just for over the weekend, then you and I are going to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, okay, let's do it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he's been to Paris, but I mean, I said, would you travel with your old mother? Yeah, he would do it. So I'm determined. There are weekend trips. It doesn't have to be for weeks. It just, it's just it's just a day, just a couple of days.
Right. That's because of where you are in Germany. Everything is not far from there. It's just a 2-hour flight or train.
Or if you don't want to take the train, then just drive and let's just spend a couple of days. Yeah. Go to the Louvre, sit and a cafe on the Champs-Élysées. I mean, go to the Eiffel Tower, just
And you know what, Wanda, when I hear you say that, I can appreciate that, because you had parents who were culture. We know your parents were in the movement, and they were very well read.
Yeah.
A lot of students or kids especially that I work with, they come from households where they see it in a book, or they may read it, but that's not for them. It's not for them. But how can a student try to see, well, maybe I should try something if I don't find it or learn about it in my home or in my school? Talk about how that is possible from wherever you come from. It's not just for the wealthy or exposed child of these circumstances. There are lots of programs and things students can do from backgrounds where they could get a scholarship.
But you get that through education. That's why.
But that's the problem. That's the problem we're having, is that a lot of this is not taught in education here. I know for the students that I work with, they don't teach those students that they can get a scholarship to go for half a semester or for a year abroad.
Really?
That's not something that's taught. You may have it in some schools, but it's not like a common curriculum of teaching. Maybe if you go to a community college, there may be department of travel or whatever, but it's not like it's talked about like you should do it or it's for you. For myself especially, it was always the wealthy kids or the really highly educated, the smart kids had those opportunities, not the other contrast.
You have to, there's so many opportunities. I guess a lot of it lies on the council, the counselors that these children have.
And that's the problem. You're right.
It's their job. It's their job to do their job. And obviously they're not doing their job.
No.
And I'm not concerned, because when you counsel children, you can tell them about so many opportunities you should have as a counselor. It used to be in the school system. You know about this program, you know about this program, you know about this program. You can, help children to apply for this and to help children to apply for that. Don't tell them they can't do it. Mm-hmm. Just apply. I remember all those brochures and all those things that used to be in the counselor's office when you used to go back then and say, what are you interested in studying? To what university you want to go to? I didn't need it because I knew what I was going to do, and I had parents, of course, who'd already done that. But that's, were directing me. I didn't need the counselor, but the counselor is there, or should be there, for the students, for the children, to inspire them. Them to want to be something better, want to broaden their horizons. And there's so many programs. I worked for a company, I can't remember the name, as I stated, in New York. We gave scholarships. I used to work for a company. I used to get the scholarships. I used to give the scholarships to minority students who were going to college. That was this foundation that I worked for in New York. Mm-hmm. And where they had their monies, I can't remember. But they used to give scholarships to all minorities. And you had to maintain your grade average. I remember their grades had to come in, and if they had faltered, or then they would lose a percentage of it, but basically, students, did what they had to do so that they could keep that part of that tuition being paid.
Right. Yeah.
So there are opportunities out there.
But you said the key word. You said they have to be inspired.
Yes.
And they're not inspired. They're not. This is part of the mission of what I do for my nonprofit. It has to really be more integrated into regular schooling life, because they're just not, and it's such a missed opportunity. And for yourself, you having had this opportunity, I don't know if you ever come to the States to meet with the schools or to talk, but I think your inspiration to travel and to live abroad or to even study abroad is something that would be very beneficial to students here in the States, because we just not are inspired. I mean, I know with COVID now it's a little difficult, but when this is all over, hopefully very soon, it really needs to be more talked about, and students need to be inspired to see that these are your opportunities, because they don't see it as their opportunities.
Well, it's up to those counselors, those teachers. It's their job. They have the students every day. Students are in school more than they are at home. Is that not correct?
That is true.
So it's their job. Then they're not doing their job.
They're not doing their job.
They have so many opportunities, and I don't understand, if they're minorities and you're in a minority school system, you're unless the children are not wanting it, but even if they're not wanting it because they don't know it, it's your job to try to inspire them, to make them want it.
Right. Yeah, that's where it is.
Make them want
it. Because don't you think the society is better when the students are more cultured?
Of course.
Exactly. So why would that not
profits from it?
Right. So why would they not?
Watching on television at CNN, all of these corporations that are now going to be giving millions of dollars to minorities, like Michael Jordan, like is it Apple? There's so many companies that are now going to be giving millions to minorities for a better education.
Yes. Yes.
So if that is the case, hiring minorities, getting minorities involved in, so I guess
internships, perhaps.
I guess these things are going to happen now.
I think they are going to happen. They really are going to happen because of this movement. And I mean, I just want to be able to reach out to you and say, hey, Juandalynn, you have a story that students need to hear. Yeah. You are done something very remarkable that your parents have passed down to you, because I think
all parents didn't do that.
That's right. That's right. They haven't.
My mother and my father always talked about. Patricia, when Uncle Martin, Dr. King died, we were offered a scholarship from Farm and Wilderness Camp. That's it's a fantastic camp. It's fantastic. And they invited us to come to camp. And they gave us the scholarship to go. It's really expensive. And I have the opportunity of sending my son to Farm and Wilderness Camp too. And Farm and Wilderness Camp is in Plymouth, Vermont.
Okay. Okay.
And they give scholarships to kids who are less than, to have the opportunity to live in cabins in the nature up in Vermont.
That's nice. That sounds so nice.
It's so fantastic. They're just because, Farm and Wilderness is one camp, but there are other camps. In the wilderness, you're swimming in lakes. You have to look at the whole thing. Ken and Susan Webb at that time lived. I was so, it was a tradition that the Abernathys went. But what I want to say is that even my parents were so special because they wanted that for their children. But other parents who were in the movement, it wasn't important to them that their children go.
Interesting, yeah.
Yes. And my parents were always for traveling, going abroad, my father never wanted me to stay under him. He said, it's a great privilege for me to come to visit you in your four walls.
Wow, that's nice.
I want to eat at your table. It's a pleasure that I come to see you. Yeah. And that's why we had the tradition back then, one Christmas in the United States, the next Christmas in Germany, the next Christmas in the United States, the next Christmas in Germany. We always, 1 year so, 1 year the next, so that the Abernathys would travel. You understand? But their whole thing was, we love you, but we want you to go out into the world.
Right.
To see the world. It is so fantastic, you know, and you can learn, travel. And that's why they did that. And it actually started back then when Uncle Martin was killed, that going to Vermont. Going to Vermont to spend the summer vacation in Vermont.
Wow.
It was so wonderful. And then the next year came Malcolm X's daughters, Attila, but the young children came, but the Kings never did. They never came.
They never did.
And that was another thing that was so important. My father, that's why Yolanda said to me, oh, I'm so jealous, Juandalynn. I said, why are you jealous? She said, because you all were always on the marches. We weren't. There's not one march that a King child was a part of.
That's interesting.
Not one. But my father and my mother insisted that we be a part of these marches so that we would be a part of history being made. That we understood from where we came from. So that's the special thing about them. We opened up the Selma to Montgomery March. Yeah. I was there on March on Washington. I heard the speech. We were standing behind, but against near the columns.
Okay. Yeah.
And we marched in Miami. We marched. I mean, we were on so many marches. It was a wonderful experience. We saw history being made. That was the special part about Ralph and Juanita. Yeah. That was they wanted us to be a part. That was their vision, you see. And just because you are educated, as you stated before, doesn't mean that you travel a lot. There are a lot of filthy rich Texan oil people. They don't travel that much either.
Right. Yeah.
There's some that do travel. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but it's important for minorities and people of the world to travel. I just think that when you do that, then you see things differently.
You do.
You become, actually, I think through your horizons are broadened, but your tolerance, your openness.
Yes.
Tolerance and your openness is broadened.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree with you, Juandalynn. I just am so inspired by who you are because you're so aligned with how I see things. And I wish that I had only had the opportunity to do it as a single person. As you know, I've only been abroad because of marriage. But as a young girl, I dreamed, but I never thought I could do it. And you did it. You left when you were in your 20s.
Yeah.
You know, and I just think that your story is now part of my story, and I'm just happy to have met you.
Oh, I'm so happy that I met you.
I just know when they were saying when I was in Bali, oh, there's a Black American in here too. You got to meet her. And then you had a son the same age as my son, and it just was synergy all day long. It was just so nice, so nice.
I missed you when you left.
I know. But yes, but I just want to thank you so much for your time. We've been talking quite a while. I'm gonna have to really edit this down. But I just want to thank you so much for taking the time and to be an inspiration to the students, especially that I will have listened to this podcast. And hopefully you can keep inspiring young people to see the world travel, to be educated, because it makes you a better person, and it makes our world a better place because of that tolerance and exposure to people who are different than you. And look how you have assimilated into your life in Germany. You're still there. You are part German now, so it's doable, and you're a great person, and I think a strong person to do what you do, because you keep persevering. It's hard. I know it's hard. And
it is.
Yes.
I have a student of mine, or a couple of them, they said, Abernathy, I have never met anybody as strong as you are.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, what? Yeah, you are really strong.
Yeah. You are. You really are. So thank you so much for being on the Expatie podcast.
Thank you. But I have one thing to say.
Yes.
And I think it's so important for the young people of today. Mm-hmm. And that is, when they have the opportunity, it's important that they register to vote.
Yes, I know that.
When you go to register one day to vote, please make sure that you have your paperwork in order. Please make sure that your name is correctly spelled, correctly written down, because the new system is to prevent you from voting if there's a dot or a T not crossed or a T not in your name, or a hyphen that is there that is not there, then you will not be able to vote later.
They'll throw it out.
So
yeah.
It's important that you learn to be thorough.
That's a good skill.
And very precise. Very, very. And take the opportunity. Don't say my vote doesn't count. Learn your vote does count. You, as young people, young people must learn that people died, people were killed. Mm-hmm. You can have the right to vote. That's why it's important. I don't care if you're white, I don't care if you're Mexican, I don't care if you're Hispanic, I don't care if you're Black, I don't care if you're mixed, if you're Asian, I don't care what you are. If you're an American citizen, you have the opportunity to vote. And that privilege is not to be taken lightly. I have to say that.
Okay. I know that's something very, very close to you, because you were there during all of the uprising with the voting. And I know the recent stories with people being not allowed to vote because of these mistakes in their name and
suppression.
Suppression, absolutely. All righty, my dear Juandalynn. I will stop recording now. Thank you for listening to the Expatie podcast. Please remember to follow me on Podbean at expatie.podbean.com. Like and share this podcast to hear other podcasts that I do with other Americans and Canadians living around the world.